right now as they stand?
Foolishly optimistic, I would say. I you know, I'm not just looking necessarily at the sort of win column, loss column. I mean, because if you do that, then it's not optimistic. But I think that a lot of the losses were pretty close, games within hand. And when you consider all the variables and the sort of missing pieces on the roster, guys having to play outside of their role, and that I'm a firm believer that Jason Kidd coaches a long game and not game to game, which is a big, I think, difference between him and Rick Carlisle. I tend to have a really positive outlook if everyone can get healthy. Now that if is a big if, but games have been close, games have been competitive. What more can you ask for?
Exactly. I saw a tweet recently that was, I think, just spot on, and it was, the Mavericks can beat any team except the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers. And there's like, and the guy's like, I'm dead serious about the Pacers, and I'm like, that might be true, but certainly more optimistic if they had a finals rematch against Boston this time around than I would be last time.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that seeing some of Mavs Twitter be low on Kidd, I think it's somewhat understandable. But again, I think he is coaching people trying to keep people within their roles, even if it's not necessarily the best game-to-game decision, in my view. And I think that is a real long game he's playing. So until that, I think it's just really hard to judge in the moment. I mean, I think Bobby actually said on this show, that's what you get with Kidd. You get guys bought into a system. And what you got with Carlisle is an X's and O's guru who could probably win you that really random game in February, but you just have to decide what your bid is. And I like that they've gone this direction of like, okay, let's stay within this strategy. Spencer Dinwiddie, you are always going to be in that QB slot, whether it drives fans crazy or not. He's either QB1 or QB3, but he's never going to be not that role. And I can appreciate that about Kidd. So
if Spencer went down, would they sign Tony Romo? Would they bring him back?
Hope. That's my hope. I can't believe. I think it's one of the worst things in the world that they didn't let him play in that game. If you're gonna do the bit, do the bit.
Committed to it fully as far as the entire bit is concerned, for sure.
I've tried to write a story about that before. Behind the scenes, what really happened that day, and eventually got stuck on some people who wouldn't. We're gonna talk for the story, and then stopped being willing for some reason. But man, they genuinely lobbied the hell out of the NBA to try to get Tony Romo in that game for a few minutes. And
I love it. I think more teams should do that. It's an 82 game season. Some of these teams are competitive. The Mavs weren't that year. Let's just do it. Come on.
Exactly. I'm with you.
Jason Gallagher joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Jason, I want to ask you, obviously, with this team just outside of 2 weeks before the NBA trade deadline, two-part question. One, have you ever seen an injury situation like this when it comes to a team, particularly with Dallas, with all the injuries that they've experienced? And with that, should they make a move? Do they need to make a move by the time we get to the trade deadline in about 2 weeks from here?
Yeah, I've not seen anything quite like this scenario, and I find it to be just utterly fascinating, where you have the top of the West is full of a bunch of young teams that the Mavs probably are like, we're fine playing them in the first round, maybe outside of Oklahoma City. And I think that's what makes this scenario so unique, is that I don't think Dallas is stepping into an 8 seed overly panicked about their position in the playoffs, especially not having home court all last year. So yeah, this is just fascinating. It's fascinating that we're in the 9th seed, and I'm like, yeah, I feel pretty good about the season and our playoff chances. That's like a wild thing. Can't ever remember that. And so, yeah, I'm feeling good. And then in terms of the trade deadline, look, I'm good with this roster. I really am. I mean, there are little things, but I don't think anything that's going to change the sort of outcome of anything. If Najee Marshall keeps getting sick, then maybe just out of pure, like, bro, maybe you need to get out of Dallas and just get healthy. I don't even know, for his sake, but I really like this roster. It's versatile. At its fullest, it's very versatile. It's it can change, be matchup dependent. I really like the way they constructed it. So yeah, unless I just don't see a fix that makes us that much more material.
I was planning to ask you about Luka and MVP and whether he's ever gonna win. But why do I associate the MVP with you? Like, I know you've gone on Kirk Henderson's podcast about. Do you actually like talking about the MVP? Like, is this something that interests you? Like, why am I associating you so specifically with having like very strong opinions about how the MVP works?
Well, I work in basketball discourse, and I hear it from a lot of really smart people, a lot of national people that might just be doing things for engagement or what have you. And I don't really know, I guess, how it became a thing, other than I'm totally comfortable arguing about it. And I'm an argumentative person. My wife always says I should have been a lawyer. We would have made a lot more money that way. And I hate arguing about real world shit. I hate arguing about politics and all that other stuff. So it's like, what's low stakes? What's something I can throw out into the universe, argue with 15 randos about, and then log off and never think about it again? The MVP. What a beautiful thing. And Luka, I think that the specific treatment of Luka last year broke my brain a little bit, and I'll admit it. I to this day think it's one of the weirdest things. I don't even know how to like really say it any more than I've already said it, but I think that really broke my brain, and I think it broke a lot of Dallas fans' brains, and we're going to see residuals of that for the next 5 years from me, my fellow Mavs fans, everybody's going to be on that train watching really closely. Are you really going to give the MVP to a fourth seed, a fifth seed? Are we really going to do that after last? It's going to happen for a long time from Dallas fans. So
yeah, I mean, I was one of the 4 MVP voters for Luka last season, and I mean, I voted knowing Jokic was going to win it, and that kind of sucks. It kind of sucks that like the MVPs aren't surprises anymore. That everything has been gamed out, and that you pretty much know who's gonna win it. And I was very comfortable. I mean, I thought Jokic was quite arguably the best player. I mean, I thought he was the best player in the NBA last season. That he is the best player in the NBA, and I thought that Luka did enough over the course of the season to earn the vote over him. But it was basically neck and neck. So what was unbelievable to me is that Luka wasn't even second. Like that is unfathomable.
It was dismissed because of what you said. It's the sort of like the narratives get built early in the season, whether we like it or not. That is just the truth. The MVP also, a lot of distinguished media members will like to say, playoffs have nothing to do with it. Dude, the playoffs from the previous season have everything to do with the MVP.
It does. Yeah.
It gives you the benefit of the doubt that other players might not get. You know what I mean? Like at no point during the rough Nuggets stretch this year did anyone even mention the impact on winning. You know what I mean? That phrase, impact on winning. No one ever mentioned that with regards to Jokic. And they mentioned it every chance they could with regards to Luka last year. And so, I think you had texted me a little bit, when talk MVP, will Luka ever win it? And my answer to that question is I really don't. I really think that his mindset should be championship, and not that it wasn't before, but I think he's probably, as a fan of his, I'm a little over the personal accolades. I'm just sort of like, once you win the championship, all that other stuff follows. Like that's kind of the reality. It's not the way that I would interpret the award personally, but that is clearly the way that media interprets the award. So I'm
not wishing for this, but it's quite possible if you are maximizing a championship that the best thing for Luka is that he never has a season like 34-9-9 playing, almost 70 games like he did last season. That just might be the case. He might be a player. Obviously, we're not saying go down the Embiid route, and we're not saying that, at 26 years old that he's, permanently cooked in a, but he is an athlete who has, we saw how he was in the postseason last year. He wasn't his best. So if it takes a little bit, if it takes him missing 15 games a year and, not just maximizing or having to do everything in the regular season, and that's what Dallas was trying to do with the roster this season, that's fine. I do think that's a better way. to
Yeah.
approach this.
And I also think that the way that we all think about the MVP is just, I do sort of think that we've all probably put too much stock, like it is some massive truth that can never be unwritten. Yes, they were voted in the most valuable player of the year, but it's like, I don't know, 3 minutes in the playoffs, game on the line, on the road. I'll take Luka over Jokic I actually would, because, well, one, it's going to be a more fun product. He's definitely going to be, but two, that's just, it's just, I think that he performs really well in high pressure situations in a way that I think that mental aspect of the game gets lost in the data and the analytics, which is why I think you see him come alive against Minnesota like that. So yeah, MVP is just a weird thing, and it's all, timing. Anyone who's watched the game for more than 10 years knows that the award is about timing. Luka had, his season last year, whatever the season was that Jokic got it with the 6th seed, he's probably winning. It's just all timing. It's weird. Last year was really competitive. And so I don't really begrudge anyone for voting Jokic, like Tim said. I might begrudge people a little bit for voting Shea over him, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, anyways, I'm Team Shea this year, by the way, for MVP, for those.
Which makes a lot of sense. He's been probably the front runner for most folks so far this year. Before we let you go, Jason, tell the folks where they can find you. What you got going on these days, and where they can find your work at.
Yeah, great. I'm doing stuff for the Young Man in the 3. I've got an exciting, possible return to a podcast I used to do that led to a man getting hired by the Lakers. So that might be returning soon. And then, yeah, you can find me on all. You can find me on all the social medias. You can find me in Tim Cato's mentions. That's where I like to live.
Or texts. If you can get access to my text, Jason Gallagher definitely shows up there too.
It's true. Anyways, yeah, but I appreciate
usually complaining about something that he's mad at.
Oh, me? What are you talking about? This is the beauty of being production, is people think you're some media member. I'm like, guys, no one pays me for my takes. These things, no one would ever want that. So,
well, Jason minds the game very well, and he's fighting the good fight in OKC as a Mavericks fan. You have a very unique experience being a super fan of the Mavericks, while also amongst all the folks in Oklahoma City. That rivalry is, I think, one of the best in the NBA right now. And the thing I love about it is it's been an organic build to this rivalry over the course of the playoffs and now throughout the regular season. So keep fighting that good fight for us in Oklahoma City, man. We really appreciate you joining us on the show today.
Yes, sir. Thanks, gentlemen.
We all silly like the mayor.